Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a Monday night NBA discussion here. My name's Tanner. I'm with JG. JG, welcome on into the Monday night discussion here.
What is up, y'all? Let's talk a little bit of NBA playoffs.
Right? I think we kind of got this down. This might be almost a regular Monday night thing, almost in a way, if we can make it work.
Let's make it happen until about middle of June.
Middle of June. There you go. See what happens. So, but yeah, guys, we got a lot going on. Second round of NBA playoffs have begun. A couple games yesterday, a couple of games going today, as we discuss, and we're gonna kind of just break down a couple of games going on. We'll give our prediction for each series as well, and we'll just talk NBA. So, Jason, which one do you want to start first?
Let's go with yesterday's game.
Let's start with BucksCeltics. Bucks lead currently 1-0 after a pretty great game, I thought, going into this matchup here. What's your thoughts here?
Well, I would say that my biggest issue with Celtics right now is that Giannis didn't actually blow up in that game. Now, he did have a triple-double, but he only had 24 points. He only shot 9 of 25. So that's not really a great shooting game for Giannis. And if the Celtics can't even beat them when Giannis is not even exploding, then what are they going to do when he starts to put up 40 burgers or God forbid 50 burgers? They're going to have a huge problem. Now, I do think that they do match up pretty well with the Bucks. But when you look at Tatum and Jaylen Brown versus Drew Holiday and Giannis, I mean, Giannis is just so much better than the second, third, and fourth best players in the series. I personally don't think that they're going to need Chris Middleton in this series. So, I look at their championship pedigree. I mean, in my mind, there's no way that the Bucks are going to lose this series. Just because they've kind of been there and done that. It's kind of an old hat for them. Now, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, those guys are going to shoot better. So I don't want anybody out there to think that this series is just going to be a walkthrough for the world champs. That's not the case. But I will take the Bucks in 6 games. Celtics have home court, so I do have the Bucks closing it out on their home court in Game 6. But yeah, like I said, this isn't going to be a walkthrough. I think this will be a competitive series, but I'll take the Bucks in 6. Tanner, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm kind of agreeing with you there. I think it's going to be one hell of a series. Boston's actually going to get a matchup that's going to cause them issues here. I don't know. It just wasn't impressive by any means by I think either team. They were pretty competitive back and forth, but Drew Holiday played really well. And I was really impressed by him going into that matchup. He made a lot of key shots to keep those guys ahead. But I still think if you can get Tatum and Brown going together, I mean, Brown only had 12 points. So this team obviously they're not very consistent with each other, but those two guys could put up 30 points at any moment. And if they can do that for a majority of the series, it's gonna be literally coming down into the hundreds. One way or another. So for me here, I think I'm going to go ahead and go Bucks, but I'm going to go 7 games. I think this is a 7-game series going into play.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind here is that Marcus Smart, who is their premier defender, he's got a quad contusion. They're calling it a game time decision, and I don't think it amounts to anything. I do think he is going to play. I don't know if he's going to be 100% or not, but again, that will be the number one thing that I look for in Game 2 is Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum having much better shooting nights.
Yeah, I agree. All right, and let's move on here to the Warriors-Grizzlies. What a matchup this was. Draymond getting thrown out on a jersey grab. It was pretty I mean, I didn't think it was anything major. They said he wound up as well, which I didn't see it. He actually hopped on today recently, this hour ago, on the show with Barkley, and talked about it. And nothing was intent. He didn't agree with the call, obviously, because he got thrown out. But I don't know. It was just a weird matchup. Clay didn't specifically play all that well either when Draymond was out, but the Warriors just showed exactly why they are contention and why they should be able to win this thing. Steph Curry does his own thing. Klay Thompson only had 15 points. He was 3 for 12 or 3 for 10 from 3-point line. But I mean, when you got a guy coming out with 31 points on your bench, Jordan Poole, that's a huge deal. And then the Grizzlies part, don't get me wrong, Jackson and Morant covered 67 points together. Of their 116 points, and these guys took it all the way to the end with Golden State, and they were actually up for most of the game on this part. And these guys are going to give it to them. If anybody's going to give it to them, it's going to be the Grizz, because they just came back from, I think, 3 or 4 games versus Minnesota of being behind and winning that series. These guys aren't going to just lay around. They're going to give it to them. I mean, John Morant played 39 minutes yesterday, 38 minutes. So, I don't know. This is kind of an interesting one. What are your thoughts here?
Well, you brought up the fact that Jordan Poole came off the bench. I think you might have actually called him a bench player. He is not a bench player. He is a starter, and he's actually a superstar in the NBA, although he's not a household name, but he pretty much will be after, especially if they win the championship. He will be a household name. But he is a starter. Steve Kerr just been tinkering with those lineups a little bit. You had Steph coming off the bench there for a few games. But make no mistake, Jordan Poole's a starter. I don't really want to take a deep dive into the whole Draymond Green situation, other than the fact that I will say, Steve Kerr needs to have a meeting with him and say, hey, we don't want 2016 to happen all over again. A lot of people think that the Warriors would have easily won that finals had he not got suspended and called LeBron the B word. But, if I'm Steve Kerr, I'm going to sit him down and just say, hey, we fucking need you in this series. Don't fuck it up. And I would use those exact words. And I think Steve Kerr has enough championship pedigree as a player and a coach that he should be able to talk to a guy like Draymond Green like that just to get his attention. But, they may not necessarily need him in this series, but they certainly don't need him getting suspended. But it's Draymond, so whether you think it was a flagrant foul or not, it doesn't really matter because it's Draymond. They're going to call those things on him most of the time. My bigger issue was with the officiating as a whole. From start to finish, I think the officials just did a ridiculously poor job in the game. I feel like Memphis was getting all the calls. Meanwhile, Golden State was getting hacked all day long, and they weren't getting hardly any calls. So you can call it home cooking or whatever you want. I mean, the game was played in Memphis, so I think it's a situation where the league is probably going to take a look at that and say, okay, you guys got to get this fixed. This can't be a one-sided game as far as the officials are concerned. And I was getting so frustrated with it. And I think the worst part wasn't even the Draymond call. It was just the fact that the officials had been doing a piss poor job the entire game. And I was like, well, it can't get any worse, right? Okay, well, yeah, it can. They wait till there's 4 seconds left in the game. They go up for a rebound. A Memphis player clearly hits it out of bounds, and there's just no call. They look at each other like, well, I don't know who hit it out of bounds.
You. Nobody wants to call it.
Yeah. Let's just do a jump ball. And that game was over, dude. There's no way, God bless him. I want to see Ja Morant, blow up in the playoffs, but there's no reason why he should have even had the ball for that last shot. That was Warriors ball, game over.
Oh, yeah.
But they've got to fix that piss poor officiating because, as a fan, I was getting pissed off. And if they change something, I mean, we all know that the NBA likes to do payback calls and payback games and what have you. I mean, if they decide to do that and all of a sudden you got Memphis down 0-2 and they lost both of their home games, that's going to be a problem. And I do see this a potential for this series getting out of hand. I'm not going to be shocked if Golden State wins this thing in 5. My official prediction is Golden State in 6, though. I think they're going to end up winning this thing at home. But when you compare this to the Bucks-Celtics series, I do believe that Memphis is far more overmatched than the Celtics are versus the Bucks, and it's just because of experience. I mean, a lot of young guys on that team. They play with passion, and we all appreciate that. But even Ja Morant, I mean, he doesn't have a lot of playoff experience, so. No. I think, and you look at Golden State, I mean, a lot of people think they're the best team in the league right now. It's either them or the Suns or the Bucks in most people's minds. And I just like their fluid offense. And no matter how good you think Memphis's defense is, you get to the playoffs, those regular season defensive ratings don't really matter because teams tend to turn it up a notch. Now, both of these teams were top 6, top 7 in defense in the regular season. So Memphis is a great defensive team, but when you have that fluid offense of Golden State, their passing is just phenomenal. So you can stay in front of your man all day long, and it doesn't really matter because they move the ball so fast. Not to mention the fact that they've got basically 3 superstars now. Jordan Poole is an up-and-coming superstar. And Klay Thompson is not going to shoot 6 out of 19 for the rest of the series. I mean, Steph Curry is not going to shoot 8 of 20 and be in foul trouble the whole damn game. It's just not going to happen. So Jordan Poole, I mean, you might see him come off the bench for the rest of this series, so they can have firepower in that second unit. But yeah, ultimately I think Golden State will win this in 6, but it's not going to shock me if they win it in 5. I think Memphis is just overmatched here.
Nah, and kind of going back to the Draymond deal too, it's really his history that is what got him basically that call. I think just his whole past few seasons of always getting technicals and ejections. It just they have like a radar on him in a way. And it's just going to happen. If he makes anything remotely close to that, fortunately, he's going to have to pay the price.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say is that's a good point that you brought up. If I'm Memphis and I know that I'm severely overmatched here, that's the number one thing that I can do if I'm the coach is just say, I want you guys to do anything and everything to get under this guy's skin. I don't care if you have to whisper in his ear or call him the B word, use his antics against him, but anything that you can do to get under his skin, do it. Because, if he misses a game, that's going to be your best chance. Now, if he plays a full game this time around, I think Memphis could be in a world of hurt. But that's one thing that I would be looking for is just guys trying to get under his skin a little bit and try to get him kicked out again.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting to see how things go from now on here. For me, my prediction here is Warriors in 5, but the Grizzlies are going to give them all they got every single game. It's not going to be any kind of blowout at all anywhere. This is literally going to be what we saw last night. It's going to be a 1-2 point victory each night because that's all you're going to see this entire game. It's just up and down the court. And defense, you love defense. This was a hell of a defensive game. There's lots of turnovers. Guys, they're just playing defense, and it's awesome to watch.
Yeah, one other thing I would bring up here is that the reason I think that they had Jordan Poole coming off the bench is because they wanted Gary Payton II in that starting lineup. And I think Steve Kerr knew something before it happened. And, Steph Curry got into early foul trouble, and I think he didn't want to get too many of his big scores in foul trouble. And so obviously Gary Payton II, great defender. And I think that's one of the reasons why they had Payton in the starting unit.
Yeah, good call out there. I didn't even think about that. All right, so we'll move on here to tonight's game. Currently 76ers, Miami Heat. The Heat are up 78-68 with 3 minutes left in the third. No Joel Embiid. How huge is this for the 76ers to have to go against the number 1 seed, the Miami Heat?
I got to tell you, out of all 4 series that are going on right now, I think this is going to be the wildest series. It's going to be absolutely wild because, everybody's sitting there thinking, oh, well, we don't know what to expect, if Embiid is going to come back. By the way, Kyle Lowry, he's not playing in this game. He's got a hamstring issue. Jimmy Butler is actually banged up. He's been having some knee inflammation, so he's playing hurt, as are a lot of players this time of year. You look at the fact that James Harden, we can all see that he clearly is not what he used to be. Now, maybe he can get into better shape for next year, but that's not going to help him right now. I just think it's going to be a wild series. The Heat are winning right now, but I look at these 2 rosters and I just see weapons all over the place. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, up-and-coming star. Tobias Harris, he's a guy that can get you points. He's got 23 in this game right now. Maxey's got 16. And then you look on the other side, PJ Tucker, an elite defender. Bam Adebayo, he's got 20 points so far in this game. You got Victor Oladipo and Tyler Hero coming off the bench. I love both of these rosters. But as we all know, this is all going to come down to Joel Embiid. Is he going to play? Is he going to be 100%? He's had that orbital fracture previously. I don't know if it was in the same on the same side of his face, but he's dealt with this before. And I'm telling you right now, even if Miami goes up 2-0, which I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but Joel Embiid is not going to be playing in game 1 or game 2, just so everybody is aware of that. But I'm telling you right now, even if Miami goes up 2-0, this is going to be a wild series because I have no idea what to expect. If Kyle Lowry comes back, that's great. But if Embiid comes back in game 3 and he's 100%, God have mercy. I could see a scenario where the Heat are up 2-0. And then the Sixers win 4 in a row and close this thing out in 6. I am going to go ahead and make my prediction here. The Sixers in 7. But again, this is going to be a wild series. I certainly wouldn't want to bet on the outcome of the series because there's just way too many unknowns. And that's why I think it's going to be wild. But don't sleep on the 76ers and that roster because even though Harden is not what he used to be, Tobias Harris, he's a heck of a player, offensively and defensively. And like I said, Tyrese Maxey is an up-and-coming star. And, James Harden, even if he can't get to the rack like he used to be able to, he's a playmaker. So he's going to run the offense and make plays. So what do you got, Tanner? I got Sixers in 7.
I don't know, man. I think I'm going to go with the healthier team and the team that has a little bit more weapons currently that can play on their side. I just don't believe in the Harden. I believe in Harris. I'm cool with Harris. I'm cool with Embiid playing. Like, I don't mind those guys. It's Harden. I just think Harden brings this team down, unfortunately, to not the level they need to be at. I think I'm going to go Heat on this one. I think Bam and Jimmy buckets they're just going to be too much. And then, Oladipo sitting on the bench. He has 3 points currently. But there's another guy that could blow up for another 15, 20 off the bench at any moment. I just think I have a feeling Embiid's going to be out for 3 games in the end. I really do. And it's going to be unfortunate for the 76ers. I think it's going to be overcome too much. I'm going to go Heat in 6. I think it'll still be a long series, but I'm going to go Heat in 6 on this one.
Yeah, and like I said, I would not bet on this series. This could go either way.
I'm not going to be
shocked. I won't be shocked if Miami wins it. However, even if you think Joel Embiid is going to be out for game 3, I do think that Philly roster is good enough to get a game. So if all they do is get 1 game out of the first 3 and they're down 2-1, like I said, if Embiid comes back healthy, God have mercy, because like if he's in the lineup, they could destroy the Heat in 2 to 3 consecutive games.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see here on this one. This is going to be a matchup to just watch on the health of certain players. So, and then guys, the final game tonight that is not, I believe, currently on yet. Let me update my
9 o'clock. It's on at 9 o'clock.
Is it 9? Okay.
Yep.
I was like, I don't think it's on yet. So the Mavericks and Suns are the final matchup of this round here. And they play tonight here. So, interesting deal. Dallas Mavericks, I said about 3 weeks ago or before the playoffs started, this was my sneaky team. This was the team I thought that could cause some havoc for this whole division in place just because of the way they've been playing since the trade of Porzingis. Dinwiddie and help me. Who am I thinking of?
Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson.
Thank you. That's the other guy. Are perfect combos to go with Luka right now. And I'm loving this right now. I think the Mavericks could take these guys the whole way to 7, and it's all depending on the health of Booker. Booker, he played last game, sure, to close out the series, but he was kind of a smokescreen guy. He didn't perform really well. Chris Paul obviously had a quote-unquote perfect game from shooting, where he was 13 for 13 and like 10 for 10 or something like that from free throws. So the guy was amazing. I just think the Mavericks could actually sneakily away pull this one if they can take it into Game 6 and Game 7. If they can't get ahead early in the series, at least get it 1 or 2 games in the first 4, then this could be a Suns, take it away on Game 5, Game 6. So I'm going to go for the upset here. I'm going Mavs to upset the Suns because Booker, I don't think Booker's healthy enough. And without Booker, that team I still don't think is going to actually produce against. They could beat the Pelicans, sure. The Pelicans or whatever. Mavericks are a different squad. This is an actual team that has performed since the trade deadline. And I think the Mavericks were going to pull away because I don't think Booker's healthy enough to perform for the next 3 games. Give me Mavericks in 7.
Wow, that's unbelievable, Tanner. I tell you what, they're going to need Devin Booker to re-aggravate that hamstring injury. Now, if you don't think he's healthy now, that's fine. I think obviously everybody thinks he's healthy at this point. He looked pretty good in that last game, but in my opinion, that's the only way they're going to win is if he aggravates that hamstring again. Let me tell you why. I compare this series to the Celtics Bucks series, and I think a lot of people really overreacted when the Celtics beat the Nets. They're like, oh my gosh, they destroyed the Nets. Well, the Nets, for your information, were a piss poor team. And I compare this series kind of in the same way. Dallas beat Utah. Utah, they were kind of a piss poor team. I don't know if they were quite as bad as the Nets, but they only have one superstar in that team, and that's Donovan Mitchell. But now Dallas is going up against 2 superstars, and that makes a huge difference. And also, I would throw out there the fact that Utah is imploding right now.
You don't consider Rudy Gobert a superstar?
No, he had, what did he have, like 10 points?
Oh yeah, no, he was trash.
10 points in a closeout game. Yeah, I would say, in the days of Bill Russell, he is an elite defender, and Bill Russell, I'm sure, was a superstar back then for his defense, but those days are over, and you got to have something on the offensive side of the floor to be considered a superstar in this league, and Rudy Gobert just doesn't have it. I mean, I think there have been rumblings that he doesn't really want to play with Donovan Mitchell anymore, and Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be there anyway.
Wait, wasn't it? I thought it was he was going to present the case of it's either him or me, essentially.
Well, whatever it is, I mean, I think they're just imploding. I mean, I think they've been riding this train about as far as they can ride it, and I think they're about ready to tear it up and start over, and that probably includes the head coach.
I was going to say, does that cost Quinn Snyder his job over this?
Quinn Snyder's a great coach, but it's kind of like the Utah in the old days. I mean, they never could get past Jordan, but at least they made the finals. This team is not even close to being able to making a finals. And so
Correct.
I just think that
Correct.
I think people are overreacting on the fact that Dallas beat them in 6 games. And now they're going up against a whole different animal, because not only do they face 2 superstars instead of 1, the Suns have an elite bench, which brings me to my second point about this series is that I'm not a big fan of that Mavericks bench at all. You brought up Jalen Brunson. Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, he's kind of up and down. I don't think he's a guy that you're going to be able to depend on from game to game. He's going to have his ups and downs because he's a role player. And that's what I would expect from role players. And so, yeah, I mean, he had 19 points in that closeout game against Utah. But, again, this is a whole different animal, especially defensively. You look at Phoenix. I mean, you're not going to be able to depend on Spencer Dinwiddie from game to game. Now, I do believe in Jalen Brunson. I do think that he's a guy that's going to be able to bring it every single game. But, I mean, you got Doncic and you got Brunson, and then you got on the other side CP3 and Devin Booker. But I'm telling you guys, those athletes on the Suns, they are elite athletes, and they will lock you down on defense. And I just think that Dallas is going to be shell-shocked. I do think that they're capable of getting a couple of games, but again, it's kind of like that Golden State Memphis series. I am going to pick the Suns to win this series in 6, but as is the case in that Golden State Memphis series, I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if this is a gentleman's sweep here, because I just think Dallas is way overmatched. I mean, if I'm the coach of Phoenix, I'm just going to say, okay, we're going to go ahead and let Luka Doncic, just let him put up a 30-burger every game. Who cares? And we're going to try to lock down the rest of those guys. And they have the athletes to do it. So I think you're going to see that elite Suns defense in this series. It's not going to be as close as people think it is. So give me the Suns in 6.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, no, this again, I think this is probably one of the better rounds of that we've had in a long time in the NBA playoffs. I feel that the competitiveness, I think it's there. I don't think you really got a bad matchup this year for this for round 2 here. So I'm pretty excited for it all.
Yeah, I agree on that. And at least in the case of Golden State and Memphis and Celtics versus the Bucks, even though Celtics and Memphis might be outmatched, at least they got the higher seed and they got to start out on their home court, which hopefully will make it more interesting in both of those series.
Agreed. Well, guys, we do have our show on Wednesday this week. We will be Wednesday because there's no draft this time. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central. You find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. And you always follow us here on TikTok as I starting to pick that back up again here. That's always a fun one. I'm sure you'll get into it eventually, right, Jason?
Yeah, I'm in, man. Set it up, baby. I'm in.
Love it. And don't forget to go follow our affiliate or our network here, Let's Talk Sports. Go catch them here on the same route, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Great interviews, great stuff going on. We had a lot of those guys on for the NFL draft show, round 1 last Thursday. Tons of cool stuff going on there. We plan on working with them a little bit more here as we progress towards NFL. But guys, NBA here, we're going to get a few people on as well from that network, and I'm excited here. I'm working on that here. Get a Bucks fan. We'll get some Suns people for Mike. Maybe get him on for once. So we'll see exactly what happens. But let's make sure you guys go follow and subscribe. Other than that, any last words, Jason?
Just give me your NBA Finals prediction. I'm putting you on the spot.
An updated NBA Finals here. If I had to pick out all these teams right now, I'm probably going to go – trying to think here. Probably Warriors and Bucks.
I'm right there with you.
Warriors and Bucks. I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I've got those as the two best teams in the league right now. So maybe, but you never know. Maybe Phoenix will have something to say about that. But
yep. And guys, we'll talk a little bit more NBA here on Wednesday night, of course, as well as some of the recap of the draft. So, but anyways, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, guys, we're out.